Bonsoir à tous. I would like to invite you for the session Pandemics in French Literature by Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science. I rebel, therefore I exist. I welcome Mr. Jeyakar to take over the session.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, and good evening to you all. And a special thanks to the Kumaraguru College principal and the management and Mademoiselle Magdalene to give me a chance to address. It's a great pleasure to address you or to talk about pandemics in French literature, and I'm so glad to meet you all. And bonsoir à tous et à toutes. And je vous accueille dans notre ce programme maintenant. So, on va parler sur à travers la littérature française, surtout sur le roman La Peste. Okay, so we are going to talk about the French literature, and one of the things, during this time, we all can relate to the things happening. First of all, we all have a question, a common question: what is happening? Why is it happening? Why is it happening now? What do I do? And we all have this common question, when you look at the situation around us, and we may wonder, what do we do? Why we have to face this? Why we are locked up inside our homes? But the good thing, we always can take refuge in the literature. Why do we take refuge in the literature? Because we can, when you read a literature, any literary work for that matter, I'm not talking about only French literature, it can be English or any other language, because each language contributes a lot through the different literary works and amazing literary works and we are going to, that's what we are going to see today. See, when you read a literary work, you will identify yourself to a particular character, and you may find identify yourself to a situation that is happening, and you may feel yeah, this is me, real me. You may see oh, this is what happening in my place. So that's what we are going to see today. And we are going to just have we are not going to go into detail, but we are going to just give an outline. I'm going to just take you through and what are the different literary works that talks about the pandemic or epidemic that has happened in different literatures. See, that's what we are going to. So I'll take you through that first, and then I will take you through, the French literature, and particularly through one that we are going to focus on. It is La Peste. Okay. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, the next one. The next slide, please. Yeah, so these are some of the literary works you come across, okay, which focuses on pandemic. Okay, see, you can have, these are all from, not only from French literature, these are from English and other European, literary works. One of that, it's written in 14th century in, La Decameron by Giovanni. And in 18th century, you have, literary work called the Journal of the Plague Year by Daniel Defoe. And in 19th century, you have The Last Man by Mary Shelley. And in 19th century, again, it is The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe. And in 20th century, we have, this is what we are going to talk about today, The Plague. In French, you call it as La Peste by Albert Camus. In 1969, we have this Andromeda strain, Michael. So I don't have time to talk about all those in detail, but when you find time, you can just go through these some of the literary works that talks about different epidemics and how man reacts to each epidemic. Okay, and in 1978, you had The Stand by Stephen King. And 1994, it is this Richard Preston. He wrote about Hot Zone. And in 1995, Blindness by Jose Saramago. And in 2007, it is this recently by The Pest House by Jim Grace. So these are the different, works. Okay, and what we are going to do today, okay, can we go to the next slide? And we are going to just talk about one particular, author. And he's a very popular writer, and French, the whole of France love him. They adore him, and because he is called as Albert Camus, and he was a French writer. He was a philosopher. We are going to talk about his philosophy because he is the one who has, initiated a great philosophical movement called absurdity. Okay, and he's a journalist, and he loves, write for newspapers. He was born in November 7, 1913, and he died on January 4th, 1960. Okay, and few of his novels are being translated in many languages, and one of this, it is La Peste. It is in English you translate it as the plague, and also after that he wrote one more called L'étranger, the stranger. Okay, he got a Nobel Prize for this novel of the plague. Okay. We'll see that in the next slide. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1957 at the age of 44, and he had his own philosophical idea. That's what I said, absurdism. Okay, we'll be talking about it a little bit. Okay, and he contributed a lot to the French literature. Okay. Can we move to the next one? Yeah, this is the novel here written by Albert Camus. It was published in the year 1947, and he got a Nobel Prize, as I told you, for literature in 1957 for this literary work. And he talked about one of the epidemic that has happened in Africa, and he talked about one place called Oran. Okay, so here that's the plot, everything, it's based on this. Okay, it is all what has happened in that city of Oran, and in 1899, because this long before he started writing this novel, this epidemic has destroyed almost half of the population of the city. So how Oran and its surroundings were struck by a disease called, several times it was it has come back again and again. I think 4 or 5 times this epidemic, cholera epidemic, has destroyed the city and the people. Okay, So I'll just show you in the next slide. We are going to see just how many times it has this epidemic has affected this city of Oran. We had, like, Oran was decimated by the bubonic plague in 1556 and in 1678, and also it came back again in 1921 and 1931 and 1944. So this being the background, okay, on this background, this author Albert Camus, he writes about the effect of this epidemic through this novel. Okay, so we are going to just take you through. I'm going to take you through some different characters. We are going to just, like, talk about the characters, and because, see, this whole novel, if you see, it talks about the powerlessness of an individual against a epidemic. Because when you look at the situation, you will understand, like, we have no power against it. Like, you can't react, you can't, like, you don't know what to do. Because when you have a natural calamity, or when you have this pandemic, it is happening, a man has no power. So that's what we are going to see. But what are we going to do with that? See, imagine you have no power, but you cannot do anything. But there are many things, like, 2 or 3 things we can do. One, I can give up and I say, like, I'm not going to do anything else. Okay, this is not my problem. Okay, I'm done with it. Or what you can do, we can start blaming the situation and the authorities and the system, and we say, like, no, this is this is not the way they should do. This is not the way they should react, or this is not the way they have to act. I can do that. Or I can, instead, there is another category. There will be some people who can, what they will do, like, okay, come what may, I'm going to do what I have to do. Okay, so that's what we are going to see here. Okay, because this talks about a human response to the plague. Okay, because see, if you look at this philosophy of Albert Camus, he's the one who talks about absurdity, meaning, like, see, after the Second World War, people started questioning the existence. You can see all through the literature, the writers will talk about more of absurdity and nothingness of life. And they will say, like, why do we exist? What is the point? Okay, you earn money, you do all these things, but what is the end result? Like, why is happening? At least man is killing his own kindred, like his own brothers and sisters, and we are destroying the nature. Why it's all happening here? So we may talk about the nothingness of life, but we are going to see through this novel, I think it is, he sends across a powerful message, Albert Camus, how a man can react, okay, in response. Like, you have different ways of reacting. Okay, it is, each one has a unique nature, each one has a unique character, but in whatever capacity you and me can do something to the society. Okay, it is not I'm not going to give publicity to what I do, but I can do on the background, like, I can do whatever I can from my side. So that is what it's all about. Okay, because there are many unknown people in the background. Okay, whether you talk about India, or you talk about other countries, or you talk about even my country where I am in Kuwait. So there are unsung heroes, like, unknown people, unheard of. Okay, so they don't have a name. They may not have a name, like, they may not know, we may not know those people exist, but they are there. They are doing the work silently on the background. Okay, so that's what we are going to study through these characters. We are going to see how you and me can make a difference. Okay, you can be positive. See, every situation gives out some positive message. Okay, so it is up to us. It is in our mindset, how we react or how we take each situation. Because I can sit and complain all day, but I'll get to nowhere. I will get nothing out of it. But instead I can say, like, okay, even if I do one small thing, okay, I want to do it well. I want to make someone happy. I want to make sure I do something to the society. That's what we are going to see. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take you through some of the characters that you have in this, novel. We'll see in the next slide. Okay, this is the main character we have, Dr. Bernard Rieux. He uses this character to convey some powerful message through this novel. Because now, after this, COVID-19, at least now, even in people in France and other countries, they are just going back to these novel to check, like, how come he has already dealt with all this situation? Okay, he has already described these type of people who are, whom we find now. It means all these people, all through these generations, all through these years, all through these centuries, we find them still there. Okay, it is the world has all kind of people, but the uniqueness, like when you come together as a team, you can do something great exploits. You can do something great at least. So that's what we are going to see. Like, you see here, Dr. Bernard, he's a middle-aged man, like, 35 years old. He's like, moderate height, dark skin, and close cropped black hair. This is the way he was presented in this novel. And you can see at the beginning of the novel, you can see that his wife left him. So he's a doctor by profession, Dr. Bernard. And one side, he has to do his profession. And the other side, his wife left him. He has its own weakness. See, he was able to do a lot of things to the society, but when it comes to his family, yes, he could not meet certain needs, like, and he had its own weakness. But how did you overcome that? In this situation, if you see, like, he was like a whistleblower. Rieux, he was the one who treated the very first victim of the plague. And he used to address them as this disease as a plague. Okay, all this time, at least they call it as a disease. But he's the first one, I think, only in this place when they talk about Dr. Bernard, you can see him addressed as the word, started using the word plague. Okay, and he warned the authorities. Okay, and he said, like, see, we need to take action fast. Because if we don't take action, this plague will destroy half of the city's population. So, but as you can very well know, like, because those authorities have not taken it serious, because they thought, after all, one doctor is saying something like, does it going to really affect? Because they have not taken it serious, because he asking them to take action, because he said, see, you faster, earlier the action, at least we can save more people. Okay, because when for himself, like at the first, at the foresight, like, at the beginning, he thought like it's like unreal, like, he thought like this danger, oh my God, like it's going to spread. And he could not even believe. That's why he wanted the actions to be taken quickly, but as usual, like the authorities, they taken their own time. Okay. And they waited for the epidemic to spread. Only then, they started, taking action. But what he did not wait for the authorities. He did not wait for the authorities to just like, come back and say, oh, I have done these measures. No, we will see that in the next slide. Because, see, he took and things under like what he has to do. He had started and he was having an hospital on his own, and he started treating the victims. He used to come back home very late, like, because for him it is also not difficult. It's very difficult, like, see, sometimes you have to go around and find out patients and bring them, take them to the hospital. You have to first convince the families and say, like, this patient has to be taken to the hospital to be treated, otherwise the whole family will be affected. It's not easy. He has to convince them. It was because the only thing it is, what you have to understand, he understood, no, because his job, it is to save people. Okay, he did not wait for an appreciation. He did not wait for a publicity. He did not wait for anything, but he started, doing what he has to do. Because that's what, you can see through this character, like, Camus, what he was talking about. See, you can talk about absurdity, you can talk about nothingness life, but when a situation demands you, you need to step out. You need to do what you have to do. See, Rieux, he works to combat the plague simply because he says, like, this is my job. Okay, I'm a doctor. I need to save, people. He's very practical. He's not like, very philosophical, or he's not like, or religious. He did not give excuse saying like, no, I will get infected. No, he was a very practical man. He doesn't care about, and he said like, I'm going to do what I have to do. So he did that, and he never even bothered about the consequences. And he went on and on and on till the end. So that's what the uniqueness of this character. Like, he used to treat, all the patients every day. Like, he never just made any fuss. He did it. For him, he's like, okay, this is my job. I love to do that. Okay. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah, this is the first main character. It is Dr. Rieux. Okay. The second main character you find here, it is Jean Tarrou. He's a man with a smile, because everyone loves him, because he's a man with, he always smiling. Okay. The thing it is like, if you look at his personality, okay, he reached Oran a week before the plague, broke out. Okay, he never expected it will happen, because he's sometimes like, we go to a place, we never know, at least that's going to be a plague following us, and you get stuck there. So he was like that. Okay, he was stuck in this place. Okay, he was the first along to come up with the Dr. Rieux. He's the first guy who has come up with the idea of organizing teams of volunteers. He said like, okay, it's each one of our responsibility. He said like, okay, you can't keep quiet. I can't keep quiet. So we need to do something. Like, it is our responsibility. So he said like, okay, let's form a team of volunteers and we'll fight the plague. Okay. And he talked about saying like, okay, each one of us, you and me, we have a responsibility. Let's do that responsibility, not for any monetary benefit, not for any publicity. But he said like, okay, we do that. And because, you can also see at towards the end, at least he's one of the victim of the same epidemic, but he put on a, heroic struggle. Okay. That's why I say like, see, there are some people whom you don't know the name. Okay. The names may not, you don't know the names, like, but you may see, okay, you may know them, identify as a doctor or a nurse or a volunteer. Okay. Or even a sanitary, helper. Doesn't matter, whatever the role they do. Once they understand it is his or her duty to do, and they do it to the best of their capacity, that's what it's all about. Okay, so let's move on to the next character. Yeah, the next one I have, the main character, it is Rambert. He's a journalist. Okay. So he's another guy who got stuck here. Like, okay, he came here for, as a journalist for his profession. When the plague strikes, he finds himself trapped. He tried different ways of escaping. He said like, okay, I want to get out of this place. Like, it's very normal, at least, even during this pandemic, at least, people wanted to get out of the place at the earliest. So I want to leave before, it breaks out. He also tried. He even tried through smugglers, he paid them handsomely, and he said like, can you take them out? But what happened when he first time it failed, and the second time when he tried to come up with a different plot, at least to leave through the smugglers, and he had a change of mind. He said when he looked at the pandemic, how it has destroyed the destiny and the lives of people, he said, okay, I'm not going to leave this place. I'm going to fight. So he feels, he felt like, I also belong to the city, and it's my responsibility and it's my job to, fight this plague. So he stays back, and he also, comes together as a team with those Dr. Rieux and, Jean, and they all, fight, help fight the pandemic. Okay, well, let's move on to the next person, the character. Yeah. See here, if you look at this guy, Joseph Grand, okay, he's just an ordinary clerk, okay, a 50-year-old clerk. He was working for the city government. Okay, he's a thin and he's a very poor guy, like, and he's live his, life. Just he manages his life. Okay, when the plague takes a grip on the town, what he does, he also joins the team. Okay, and he did a great job because what he did, he's a guy who can whenever when we join the team, you don't compete with each other, but you have a gift, okay, and a talent that you're going to contribute to the team. So he used to record all the statistics. He used to come again, he was acting as a general secretary of that team, and he recorded all the statistics. And Rieux, he looks at him and he says, like, he's a true embodiment of the quiet courage that inspired the sanitary groups, meaning he has inspired all these sanitary, group and workers, and he helped them, like, he encouraged them and he brought them together, and he did a great job, because you need some people like that to, from the ground, from the ground zero or whatever, from the ground root, at least you need people to go around, help, mobilize people, bring them, get the work done. Okay, you need people for that. That's why these volunteers can help us a lot. Okay, the next character that we are going to see in this play, it is Cottard. Okay, and if you look at this guy, he lives in the same building as the one we see in Joseph Grand. Okay, he doesn't appear to have a job. Okay, but he's a person like who is very like an introvert, like very secretive. He doesn't talk much. He doesn't even move with people. Okay, but when this, he had a sudden change in mind. There are some good people. There are some people who have even a change of mind for different things. Like, look at this guy's personality. His personality, who was very secretive all this time, but when the pandemic starts, his personality changes. What he did, he took advantage of this crisis to make money. And he started selling cigarettes and inferior liquor, and he sold it at a high price. We also have, in every situation, even in this present pandemic, you will find people, okay, and you will find people at least who will use that opportunity to sell things, to promote their ideas, to promote their products. But we have to be careful, because when a person has, like, this pandemic has really destroyed the lifestyles, destinies. I use the word destiny of peoples. But at this time, there are people who are like Cottard, who can exploit this opportunity, this situation. Okay, what has happened? If you look at his poor fellow, he loses his mind. Okay, and he starts shooting at random at people on the street, wounding people and killing a dog, and finally he has to end up in prison. So this is one character, because see, when you talk about, you have to talk about everyone. Okay, you can't talk about the positive side alone. You can talk about the negative side. You have to talk about everyone. Yeah. So that's what we see in this play. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Yeah, here we see one religious personality, Father, okay, Paneloux. So he is a very well-known, very well-respected priest, a Jesuit priest. Okay, during the first stage of when that plague broke, what he did, he preached a sermon in his church, And the sermon was saying, like, see, this is actually a curse from God, because God is very upset, with people, and what our lifestyle and our sin. So God has sent this plague to to humble us, to bring us back to God. So he started preaching that, and initially Dr. Rieux, he was not like, he's not a religious guy. He doesn't believe in God. Dr. Rieux, Dr. Bernard Rieux. And when you look at this person, he's more of religious. But what has happened in his life, during this, pandemic, he was helping people. He was used to go around, pray for people, and pray to God to, cure them and save them. But, he has to see a person, a small child at least, dying. Okay, a child dying right in front of his own eyes. So he, that broke him. That changed his entire life, because it's not easy, at least, when you see the small children suffer. Okay, because it is not the sin, or it is not the mistake of them, but it is whenever you see anyone, whether it is young or old, when you see them suffer, it is really very difficult. And you see this guy, the small child, at least, dying right in front of his eyes. He could not, like, take it, and he said, like, it's very difficult. It's changed his whole life. And he himself, had contracted, I think he also tested positive for this epidemic. And he said, like, I'm not going to call for a doctor. He said, like, no, I'm going to trust God. And he died, without taking any medicine. Because on seeing that, I think Dr. Rieux, he felt really bad. But, what you have to understand, at least, through all this, there are people, okay, who are, we can't blame them, but it is their belief. Okay, some believe in God, some believe in the structure, some believe in the medicines, or the medicine and doctors. Some believe in the system, at least, some believe on, they might not have any belief at all. Some of them, they don't believe God, they don't believe anyone. So we need to look at these people, and not to criticize them. Like, see, one of the things we always learn in a literature, don't criticize a person, but just put yourself in that situation and see why that person reacted in that manner. Okay, so just look at that. You may never know, when you put yourself in that situation, like, then you analyze the pros and cons, and you will understand, oh, this person has reacted, it's because of this reason. And then we will start, judging people, or start, criticizing less, because that's what we learn from this. Okay, let's just move on to the next slide. Yeah, so this is the philosophy, we see through his novel, and not only in this, the plague, and also you see in the rest of them, like, l'étranger, the stranger. You see here, like, he says, our society, it is absurd, as Camus' novel examines, among many other things. And, it's our relationship to the absurdity of modern existence. Meaning, like, you can easily say, like, okay, there is nothing, there is no meaning to life. When you look at that, you may say, like, okay, it's all absurd. It's all, so why do I live? But there is a reason. Okay, but when you have a situation or any circumstances that demands you to react or act, how are you and me, how do we react to that? Okay, because see here, the group of men gathered around this narrative represent the human response to the calamity. Okay, there are people who are positive, there are people who are negative, there are people who won't even step out of the house to do anything, but there are people who will say, like, okay, I'll step out and do what I have to do. Okay, those are the people, Camus want to highlight. Those are the people we can identify, ourselves with. Okay, the fact of this absurd powerlessness, it's no reason not to react. It's not the reason not to react, but Camus says, like, he wants us to act. It's all about action. It's not about anything else. Okay, it's not about I can just easily say, like, criticize, and I can give excuses, thousands and thousands of excuses, but you need one reason, at least one reason, one good reason to act. That's it. So if you can go by that, and if you can just do something, okay, instead of being feel sympathy, or or being negative about it, but you can also make a change. That's what it's all about. Okay? Let's just move to the next one. Yeah, because he says, like, yeah, this is one thing I really like, actually, because Camus says, each of us has the plague within him. No one on earth is free from it. He talks about some of the natures as a plague. It can be our character. So it doesn't mean, like, see, it is not a physical thing, but people cannot see, but it depends on what is inside of us. So that's what, it, there is certain things, like, like one of the character, there are people who are waiting to exploit the situations. There are people who are just, like, very quiet, but they will step out when the situation demands them. So how we have, what plague do we have inside of each one of us? That's what it's all about. Okay, so he's talking about our shadow, our capacities. Like, see, sometimes, like, because what happens after, that's what I said in the beginning, after the Second World War, people started, like, analyzing what is happening to the world, because people can use the resources to do harm. Okay, you would have heard about Hiroshima, what happened. You know what has happened during this World War. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. It's a message of vigilance. It's a message against complacency. I can be complacent, and I can just say, like, oh, this is not my problem. It doesn't happen to me, like, so why do I bother? Like most of us, we always react. We say, like, it nothing has happened to me, so why do I bother about it? Okay, so here, and the next point, I like it very much. It is because there is no question of heroism in all this. It's a matter of common decency. Okay, it doesn't mean, I don't know what it means for other people, but for me, it is a work. It's my job. Okay, it is my job. It's my duty. Okay, so he was talking about the resistance and how people can come together in a situation like this to resist. Okay, so that's the beauty of this novel. Okay, because it's easy, at least we can always say, like, okay, these all the novels, you have, like, different characters, but one character can when you read that, at least when you understand that, when you talk about it, you can see, like, I can identify myself to certain character, whether it is Dr. Bernard, whether it is Cottard, or whether it is Jean, whether it is father, or whether it is whomever it is. Okay, and all these characters, you can see them even now. Okay, I can see it, and I have seen it all around the world. Okay, maybe it is not leaders exempted from this. Okay, but from I want to look at myself. That's what it's all about for each one of us. Look at yourself and say, like, where we stand and what we have done all this time, and whether are we really taking it serious. Like, see, there are positive things, like, and because that's why, that's one of the famous philosophy, like, statement in French. It says, like, je pense, donc je suis. I think, so I exist. If I don't think, I don't exist. If I don't think, I don't. So it's up to us, at least, I need to think. Okay, so it's going to happen, like, natural calamities or plague or anywhere, but it's up to us, at least, how we react. I can't run away from this world. I can't run away from the situation. How long are we going to run away? You can run away from the situation. You can run away from one city. You can run away from a country. But how long? Where will you go? There is no place that is free from all this. So that's what it's all about through this novel. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I have, okay, given you. Fine. So this is what my observation, because I liked very much, at least in La Peste, the plague. And okay, so as I'm from Kuwait, okay, Kuwait, it's a beautiful country, even though it is a small one. Okay, so if I have to say something about it, um, because I came here in 2003, September 29, if I'm right. Yeah, 29th September 2003, I landed here. And, because initially it was, if you ask anyone at least who has come to Gulf, at least they will always say, okay, it is difficult. I think initial, if you put up first 3 months, you can stay here forever. If you just like first 3 to 6 months, it's crucial for you, like because you feel homesick, you find at least want to run away from this, and you want to just because of the climate. But the people are good. Okay, yes, we have an unstable climate. At least you can have a sandstorm, and you can have a rain at least following that, and you can have a sunshine. You can even the temperature it crosses 60, and it touches 60 at least, or sometimes it is beyond. We don't know. It is fine. It is for us at least. Maybe we are staying inside a air condition or fine, but you have outside some beautiful places to visit. You have a lot of malls, you have museums are there, and talks about some of the unique aspects of Kuwait. And recently they have opened one of the longest bridge in the world. I think it is around 43 kilometers long over above the sea. And it is, I think, yeah, a year back at least, it was open to public. And you have a lot of islands around it. You can go for a cruise, and you'll find everything. Like you'll find the food, at least you find everything. French, Italian, Spanish, American, Arabic, you name it, and you'll find it here. So you have the freedom, okay, just to practice your religion, and you have freedom to move around. And so that's what make this place unique, at least. That's why I say, like, once you are put in at least for 3 to 6 months, you can stay here forever. Okay. So otherwise, it's a beautiful place. It is, of course, it is on one side you have Iraq, and the other side you have Saudi, and we have the sea at least. Okay, it is like a small island we are here, but that's what I can say about yeah, Kuwait. Okay, but you have a lot of. I think it is the expat population is more. Out of 3 million, at least you would say like almost 2/3, I think, of the population. It is the 1/3, or yeah, more than 1/3. It is expats population, and among the expats, it is we Indians are there, and then comes the others, and its life is good. And even in our school, at least we have. It's one of the biggest schools in Kuwait, and a famous one. We have more than 6,000 even students there. Okay. So we have around more than 3,000 students learning French in our school. So that's a pretty big, actually. Yeah. So that's it. Okay. So if you have want to ask any questions, you feel free. Yeah.
Merci beaucoup. C'est très intéressant pour partager votre expérience avec nous. Maintenant, on passe aux questions. So we request the viewers or the participants to post your questions related to this webinar with us. We would be happy sharing our thoughts towards your questions. So we have a question here. So what is your opinion about COVID-19 situation in India now?
Okay, that's a good question, but see, I can only way I'm going to answer it is through pest, the plague, because I identify the situation with Dr. Bernard. He was talking, at least he was warning the authorities to act. Okay, but the authorities have taken it lightly. That's what has happened in India. So had what I feel like, at least if it had been a little earlier, because see, it is easy to just say, okay, we did our best, but when you look at the lost lives lost, actually, if they had prepared well in advance, Okay, so it would have been better. That's what I feel. Okay, so because there are countries like even in our country, at least here in Kuwait, and other countries, like they have taken actions well in advance, but still it is not easy for them to control. Okay, they did all their best. Okay, it's not easy. It's not easy for any government, but the only thing it is what I can say, like through Dr. Bernard, at least it should have been done little more. At least it would have been little earlier. Been it would have they've been ready for the situation. It would have been better. That's what I feel.
So we have a question from Anuradha Raghu asking, how did you develop interest in French literature?
Okay, that's a good question. Like, okay, if you ask me, like, see, I did French first of all in my college. I did only Hindi till eighth standard, and then I did Tamil as my second language, and I did French only in my college. If you ask me, like, as a second language, I did that, and thanks to my professor Meenakshi Soundaran, he was a well-known professor actually from Madurai, and he was from Karaikal. And the first year I could understand nothing. He started from the first class. He started speaking French, and I was lost. Okay, but slowly I just started like listening at least to him, and he said, "Don't give up." Okay, and once you start listening, even when I the second year when I just entered, and when he started the literature, I don't know, I had a liking for the literature at least, because I fell in love with the French literature. So then that made me continue with MA French. And it is not it doesn't mean I don't like the language, but mostly the literature part, like there were characters like one of my favorite author, it is Balzac, Honore de Balzac, and one of my favorite Le Père Goriot, it was my very most favorite novel. Okay, because it talks about situations like these literary people, at least they talk about their own life, because which you can identify yourself with them. That's the beauty of it. Okay, see, other, like if you read an article, at least you may read and you forget, but when you read a literary work, you will just feel yourself into that, like you feel like you are a part of that, a novel or a play, or no matter what literary work it is. So that that's the way I started liking for it. Okay.
So we have many questions. So I'm just picking it randomly. So um, just a moment. So there is a very common question asking how we are going to overcome this pandemic situation of COVID-19.
So again, I'll go back to my the plague, okay, the novel. But see, it is all about it's in our hands. Okay, it's up to our mindset. Okay, so we can all get through. Okay, see if in the past, at least, if our ancestors or if our forefathers have done that, they have they all have overcome. Okay, did you see anywhere like they all given up and they gone, like no. If there was no, you see, they all put in their effort. Okay, they fought till the end. Some of them, they died at least, but they put a look at the way they fought. So that's what we have to learn from them and say, like, we all overcome. Okay, but we have to be patient, but we can do it together as a team. Okay, so you have to just, like, come together as a team, and we have to say, like, okay, what way can we do, in what way can I just make a difference. Okay, in what way can I make use of the situation, what do I learn out of the situation, what is the positive outcome for my own life. Okay, what do I see around me, like and what do I learn out of this. That's what we need to look at. Okay, that's what I feel, at least this is what we need to look at. Okay.
Thank you for that. And we have an interesting question from Anita Manikandan asking if you have to choose the character in the novel that you have described, who it will be.
For me, without thinking, I will go with Dr. Bernard. Okay, Bernard Rieux, because I see a man of action. Okay, he never he never made a fuss, at least. He never advertised himself. He never thought even a single. See, these people, I think those who are in the forefront, like we have to be thankful to them. Like doctors and nurses, they can't even sometimes like think, can I ever do that? Like they can't even think. At least they have to do it. That's it. So for them, at least they can't suffer. For them, it is the whatever they have learned. At least they have to put it down in action, and they have for them it is just the first and foremost priority. It is to save people. That's it.
So, one more question from Bindu asking, due to this pandemic, learning is all online. Your opinion? How we can justify teaching French this way more effectively? So there is two more questions related to French, asking how we could learn French easily too.
Okay. See, learning French, even at this, okay. See, that's why I said, like, there is no excuse. Okay. I usually find at least, yeah, I used to give excuses, and as a teacher, oh, this online, I don't want to get into that. Like, initially I had this, but when I look into that, I say, like, okay, why not? See, we always ask the question, why? But instead, if you put one word with that, why not? Why not do that? Okay, why not we learn? See, I found out, like, I learned a lot of different courses, and it's in the within the span of last 1 month at least I could finish almost 5 to 6 courses. Okay, it's not only in French. Okay, because I love to learn, because see, there is no age for learning, and you can learn till the last breath. At least I can never say I learned everything in French. No, I'm not. It's still a lot way to go. Okay, because if I say I learned everything, that's a lie. Okay, it's the biggest lie. So I still need to learn. So but learning, that's what it makes a person. At least how you learn doesn't matter, but do you want to learn? Okay, if you have a heart for learning, no matter what situation it is, okay, you will learn. Okay, you will never give an excuse. That's it. That's what I would say. And see, learning French, there are many ways to do that, but one of the practical way I have learned, like, see, when I went to MA French, at least thanks to my professor who were very put up with me. At least if you ask my professors, they will tell you at least loving stories. But see, initially I had a tough time, like, because all my friends used to speak French, and I used to look at the face. I spent almost 3 to 6 months at least, even in my PG. But one thing I did, okay, it is like, thanks to one of my friend at least who was um, guide actually in Madurai. Madurai, if you look at it, like, it's a temple city, but 75 percentage of the tourists who come down to Madurai, they all French speaking. I caught hold of this guy, and I asked him, like, can you ask the tourists whether they can spend some time with me? Some would refuse, some would say, like, okay. So there are people at least who they said, okay, I used to go and spend time with them. It is maybe half an hour, 1 hour. I used to speak French with them, like my broken French. They are kind enough to put up with me, and that's how I started learning. So you have to find yourself a good platform. You need to find yourself people who can just, like, talk to you. I can learn all the grammar, I can learn all the rules, but if I cannot speak, there's no point in, especially with the language. At least, see, when we travel to France, when I take students to France, at least, this is what I usually tell them. At least I'll put them in front of me, I'll put them in all the situations. I will tell them, it's not about me speaking. Oh, yes, I can help you, but I will put them in situations, I will make them speak. So I'll say, like, okay, even if you speak, say like merci, even if that's enough for me. Or even if you say like bonjour, it's fine. If you say like voilà monsieur, okay, c'est combien, c'est tout. If you learn these small expressions, it's okay for me. So that's why I say, like, find yourself those platforms, find yourself some people at least who can talk to you, to develop your French, and you can easily learn. Okay, there is no formula for that, like this is the way, formula one, formula two, or step one, step two. No, it's all depends on your interest. If you have the interest, nothing can stop you, nothing will stop you.
Oh, Monsieur Messi. So I can relate to your experience with mine too. So we would end this session with a final question. So I would like to take the question of Sendil Kumar sir. Monsieur, how do you find the intellectual capacity of the children in Kuwait? And one more, what are the French literature novel books you can suggest them? So we end with this question.
Okay. See, when you want to talk about intellectual, it is see we have a mixed type of students. Like see, even if I talk about my own school, like as I told you, we have more than 3,000 or 3,500 students who are learning French, and every year it keep increasing now. Okay, so more students are coming at least because of the different activities we do. But we have all the nationalities. We have like name whether it is Arab or whether it is Indians or whether it is any other nationality. You find them at least all these people are there. Teaching them, it is it's all have very all very knowledgeable, okay, in their own language or in their own way. Each one it is unique. I can't make a comparison, and I will never do the comparison. At least I can't say like these are basic. No, no, no. But when they come to learn a language, it is we look at them at least as everyone as one. Okay, so we teach them as the same way at least you teach anyone else, and we give them opportunities for them to grow, like you to use the language, whether it is to different competitions at least, and whether they do it online or in school. We give them a chance at least to do that. Okay, they will have the French day. We'll take them out for to the French restaurant for lunch, where they will meet with the chef at least, where with the French people they will talk to them. They will discuss with them about the menu, and they will serve them the French way. At least the meals will be served. At least we'll book the restaurant for them for that. We'll have like 650 to 80 students. We'll book the restaurant, French restaurant, and we'll take them to France at least every year. We take at least and we give them different opportunities for them to use the language. So that's what mainly it's all about. And when you want to look at the books at least that you want to learn, okay, there are different authors. Like you can even read Camus, L'étranger. It is really nice. At least the way he discusses the topics, it's beautiful. And even you can talk about uh, Balzac. He's my favorite. At least he talks about the family issues. At least beautiful. You have like most of the plays are like most of the works are being translated in English, like Charles Perrault's work, like Beauty and the Beast, Red Riding Hood, Snow White. All these are French. Okay, for your information, even Count of Monte Cristo, the Alexandre Dumas Count of Monte Cristo. It is really nice one. Okay, you have Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. It is there, and there are so many atlas. You'll get to you can explore them. I think there are many. Okay.
Thank you all the participants for this wonderful session with us. So we have sent the feedback form in the comment section. Kindly register your name and your feedbacks for your e-certificates. So again, I take this opportunity to thank the management for giving us such a platform, and a special thanks to Mr. Jeyakar, who has spent this beautiful 1 hour with us sharing his knowledge in pandemics in French literature. So thank you all once again. See you in the next section. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you to you all.